in honor of former Browns linebacker Demario Davis. Welcome into the 56th edition of Cleveland Sports Realm. I am Kevin. Alongside is my great friend and co-host, as always, Jerome. Behind the camera, we can see him. You cannot. Is producer Eric, as always. Quick housekeeping, just right off the rip. We're actually recording this the same night that we recorded episode 55. We're going back to back in the studio. Right now, we are. You'll be hearing this about a week and a half in advance. We're actually recording. Not this past
special.
Monday, but the Monday prior. Yeah. So with the Thanksgiving special, we actually thought this isn't going to be obviously a complete up-to-date episode for you guys, but we thought it would be fun with it being Thanksgiving that is today that's releasing. We thought it would be fun to do a list of, the most thankful Cleveland athletes that we've had in our lifetime. So basically since 1997, as that was both of our birth years, the most thankful Cleveland athletes that we have been able to experience. I have not seen Jerome's list. He has not seen mine. So there might have been a few people that I forgot about. Maybe you forgot about a few people, but it would be nice to kind of talk about these guys. And it's nice to at least give some thanks, obviously with the current state of Cleveland sports teams, the Guardians and Browns specific, even the Cavs, not the best right now.
No.
So it's nice to take, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes or so, however long this episode truly ends up being, to just look back at the past Cleveland sports moments that we've been able to have throughout our lifetime, and at least look upon that with some thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So since this is releasing on Thanksgiving, to all of you, happy Thanksgiving from our staff here and everybody. We
Yeah.
hope you have a wonderful time with a wonderful holiday and time with your family and friends, and enjoy it. Eat all the turkey, stuffing, all that good stuff, and enjoy it. Again, like we said, the reason we're doing this is because it's a good time to give thanks. Nice little spin on the holiday. And, the boss is out of town. He's going to be in the Bahamas. So without the boss, there's none of us.
Yeah, producer Eric.
All we do is sit here and yell at each other. He makes this all happen.
Yeah, he makes it
so
happen.
We're thankful for him.
That's right. We are thankful for producer Eric, the man who shall not be seen.
Right. All right. So we decided that to make up lists of 11 Cleveland athletes that we are the most thankful for. So our top 11 of all time.
Yeah.
And we did include 2 honorable mentions each.
Yes. I actually had 3 honorable mentions. I'm sorry.
Did you?
I did.
Okay. Well, then we'll let you go first and begin with your honorable mentions. And we'll just say, now remember, folks, before you start crucifying us in the comments, a couple of housekeeping notes. We were born in 1997.
Yeah. So the reason Jim Brown's not on this.
The reason Lenny Barker's not on this first perfect
right.
game, Otto Graham, I mean, our parents weren't even born yet when he was playing. So this is 1997, and really probably post 2003 or 4 when Kevin and I were young whippersnappers really getting into the sports scene.
Yeah.
So that's where our lists are coming from before we hear, and honestly, I'll be honest, Bernie's not on my list either, and I think Bernie's a wonderful man, and I'm so happy that his liver transplant last week went well. I wanted to mention that too, and we forgot to on the previous episode. And obviously, we're all praying for you. We're rooting for you, Bernie. And as you always let us all know, you matter, buddy. So go.
Yeah, you do.
Good for you. And nothing but thoughts and prayers with Bernie Kosar, who is one of the greatest Browns quarterbacks to ever take the field.
Yeah, easily top 5.
So
top 3 probably.
All right. So with that, let's begin our Thanksgiving special here. How about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just rattle off just very quickly the 3 honorable mentions I had. Honorable mention number 1 was actually Kenny Lofton. That was a guy that I grew up. I remember being very, very young, not too invested into the Cleveland Indians yet, but that being a guy that I truly had kind of latched onto, a guy that played the game the right way. And when I first really started getting into the Cleveland Indians, he had actually made his comeback tour, so it was nice to see a returning player. I just remember a lot of good memories in that, so I'm very thankful for Kenny Lofton. Also had obviously an amazing grab out in center field, climbing up that wall too.
Yeah, he was a hell of a center fielder.
Honorable mention number 2. This is more so for the Notre Dame than for the Cleveland Browns, but I do have Brady Quinn as an honorable mention. He made me fall in love with the game of football, whether it was Notre Dame or not. He did play for the Browns. And then number 3, this is how you know that this is a thankful list and not a favorite, because this is my favorite Cleveland Cavalier of all time. But I do have Kevin Love in my honorable mentions. Just a guy that I felt like, came here as a superstar and had to take a back seat and did it for the betterment of the team, and ultimately, culminated in a championship for this city. So just wanted to kind of throw him on there as a thank you for his part in that championship and putting ego aside.
Great defense on Steph Curry.
Yeah, he did.
Now, my honorable mentions are a little bit different. I start with CeCe Sabathia. I wasn't, when CeCe was in his heyday here, I was still a young kid. But I remember when I first started getting into the baseball, he was at the top of his game, and he played for Cleveland, and he won Cy Youngs, and he did so much. And, he was an incredible athlete, so I threw CeCe as one of my honorable mentions.
Okay.
When we were a little bit older, obviously, folks who are younger than us probably remember him more in the pinstripes than they ever do as a Cleveland Indian.
Yeah.
And that's who he went into the Hall of Fame with. But, with him going into the Hall of Fame, the most recent induction class and all of that and what have you, I thought he'd be fair to include. And number 2, honorable mention, it's Phil Dawson. And I know people probably think, how are you going to have a kicker on your thankful list? Well, here's how, folks. I grew up watching the Cleveland Browns. He was the offense. He was always good to make the kick through the uprights, wind, sleet, snow, hail. And I'm thankful for him because he had a wonderful attitude kicking on a lot of really poor football teams. And he was a hell of a guy, and he continues to be a great guy. He's a high school football coach down in Texas. He comes back to the Browns a couple of times a year. And folks love him. And count me on that list. That's my number 2 honorable mention.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Phil Dawson, not one that you're going to see on my list, but one that you could have easily included. And for those reasons, as you just listed, Jerome, he was basically the model of consistency for the Browns during that time of them being absolutely abysmal. He was the one constant with that team. Him and obviously Joe Thomas. But yeah, I like those honorable mentions out of you.
All right. Well, I'll begin then with my number 11 here, and it's recency bias, but I'm thankful for this guy. He turned a rebuild into at least a contending team. They haven't gotten over the top yet. We've talked about it on more, serious episodes per se. I guess you could, not serious isn't the right word, but more,
focused,
reactionary episodes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
The Cavaliers haven't gotten over the second round, but I'm thankful for Donovan Mitchell. We were in the building for his 70-point game.
Yeah, we were.
He's got great leadership ability. He didn't ask to be traded here. He didn't necessarily even probably want to be traded here, but he's come in with a great attitude. He signed an extension, and he is the second best Cavalier, I believe, maybe in franchise history, behind number 23. And I'm thankful that he's come here with a great attitude. He, was rumored to love to go play at MSG. He has debunked all of that. He's signed an extension. So I'm thankful for number 45, Donovan Mitchell.
Nice. I like that one, Jerome. He actually comes in at number 9 on my list. And for all the reasons that you just mentioned, very selfless in coming to Cleveland. Obviously, Jerome, you had said New York being his number 1 spot, but really came here, embraced the city. He's been a great ambassador so far for the city of Cleveland. I think he's very involved in the community as well, and obviously a great basketball player. He's in at number 9 for me. My number 11 player, actually, and it's for one moment and one moment only, really. But Rajay Davis comes in at number 11. I just felt like with that moment and what that meant, being downtown for that moment, like that's so ingrained in my mind. Being in between Progressive Field and Quicken Loans Arena, being with you and a bunch of our college friends, and almost damn near crying tears of joy thinking what that was ultimately going to culminate in. And obviously it didn't, but that's my favorite Cleveland moment of all time. And just for him being the reason behind it, I could not leave him off of this list. So Rajay Davis comes in at 11 for me.
I did not put him on my list, but I think your reasons are very valid. And I find a lot of the same truth. And I share in my belief of that. That was going to end a drought since 1948 that still has not ended 9 years later, and he got us the closest we ever were. At that time, Aroldis Chapman was the best closer probably in baseball around that time, because that was in between Clase and Rivera, and I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who was better at that time. And so I think that's a very valid number 11 on your thankful Cleveland athletes list.
Again, this is thankful for, not necessarily your favorite, because your favorite list is different.
Your favorite list is different, and a best list is different.
Best list. This is kind of a combo, kind of not. It's kind of an in-betweener.
It's again a Thanksgiving special, and again, and just want to throw it out there. We will again at the end of the episode and remind you folks, when you make it through the end, hopefully that we don't bore you, that comment your list. Who are you most thankful for on the episode? We'd love to hear, and obviously we'll go from there. And also remember, we are 28 going on 29 years old. So again, since 1997. Just want to keep reminding everybody that.
Yep.
All right, number 10.
All right, number 10. You want me to go? Actually, I can go right off of that. Number 10 for me is actually Andrew Miller. The postseason that he had in 2016 ultimately culminated in that Rajay Davis moment. He got us there. I mean, he was AL postseason player of the year.
He won the ALCS MVP.
The ALCS MVP, I should say. So he was a huge reason as to how that Cleveland Indians team got to that World Series, and he was obviously a mainstay in that bullpen for a few years, and hadn't really seen anybody that dominant that I could remember in the Indians bullpen up until that point. So masterclass of a player to watch, and he comes in at number 10 for me. Most thankful Cleveland athlete.
I don't have him on my list. Again, I see the reasoning. It's valid.
Okay, yeah.
I have
these lists cannot be right or wrong.
I have nothing.
They're very
my number 10's
subjective.
A little bit out of left field, or actually right field rather, because of the position he played.
Tyler Naquin?
No, absolutely not. Shin-Soo Chu's my number 10, and people are going to say, well, what the hell? And I have my reasons. At the time I was probably in middle school, I was really getting into being a super sports fan, which I've maintained, and we've both maintained since then in our life. And the Indians of yesteryear, of the 2010 Indians, were a pretty awful team. In fact, they won 60. They would win 60 some games, and Travis Hafner was always hurt. There was no real other offensive weapons, and he proceeded during those awful years to go out there and have great seasons and be a threat with the bat in his hands. And I get it. People are probably like, why is a guy? But I have my reasons. And at the time, again, the team was terrible, and he was the one bright spot where he would come up and he'd be able to swat a 3-run homer in those seasons when nobody else could hit the baseball, and they actually have the same problem today.
Yeah, he was that era's Jose Ramirez, basically, except we won a lot more now as opposed to those teams.
He just wasn't nearly a quarter of the player, but yeah, he's number 10 on my list.
Right.
So, all right.
And then number 9 for me, Jerome, you already touched on it, but Donovan Mitchell comes in at 9 for me.
Okay.
And for all the reasons that we obviously went over earlier.
All right. Let's go to number 9 for me. It's LeBron James. And
okay.
It's probably in some people's mind a little low. The reason why is, again, personal reasons. It's a personal list. I was, in 2010, a devastated middle schooler. I can't put it any other way. Mm-hmm. I was angry. I was furious. I was every emotion you don't want to have in life. I had, and that's still in my mind. And I a lot of it was overturned by him promising to come back and win a championship, and he did, and that's why he comes in at number 9 on my list, because he delivered on his promise. He delivered on his word. He said he was always going to come back. He did. And then he left again, and that was upsetting. But it is what it is. So for me, yeah, it may be a little low to have the greatest Cavalier, possibly. That we're not getting into that tonight. That may be the greatest player in league history. That's a whole different ball of wax. Yeah. We're not going to open up tonight.
Right.
But he did deliver on it. That block, I'll forever. There's a picture in our living room of that block. I'll forever, be thankful for him coming back and delivering the city's first championship in 52 years. So LeBron, number 9.
Nice. Okay. Like I said, I had Mitchell at 9. I have LeBron a little bit higher on this list. I won't tell you where yet.
Okay.
But I do have LeBron higher.
Okay.
So he comes in at number 9 for you, huh?
Yeah.
Moving on to number 8. Number 8 for me, one of my favorite players as a Cleveland Brown growing up. The funny thing about this player is that I was furious when we drafted him. And that was actually Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden comes in at number 8 for me. I feel like, was the first player that, for me, when I watched the Browns, that I noticed that we had like a difference maker on defense. Like I felt like I had never seen that up until that point, and I thought he represented that, the way that he and went about it the right way. And once again, like kind of speaking how we were about Donovan Mitchell, just a great ambassador for the city of Cleveland as well. Obviously he had those few years in Pittsburgh, that sucked to see him in that uniform. But he basically nowadays acts like he doesn't even play for them. Basically, he's got the brown and orange on every Sunday. He's on all the podcasts talking about the Browns, differences that they can make in order to better the team. And then obviously he was a great player as well. That 2013 season, he was right up there with Darrelle Revis and Richard Sherman. So he was one of the lone bright spots on a pretty bad Browns run. So Joe Hayden comes in at number 8 for me.
Yeah, that's very good. He didn't make my list, but if I would have added a third honorable mention, there would have been consideration for him amongst the list that I made. Number 8 for me comes in at Myles Garrett. This might be a controversial one after this past offseason. He did absolutely drag us through the mud and make our whole organization look like crap, which, it could actually, he had some right to do that now looking at it. But to me, it is, being as diehard of a Browns fan as I am and Kevin is, of course, to have the number 1 defensive player in football for this many years in a row, who seems to be getting better, by the way. I'm thankful that he's on my team, and it sucks too, because people nationally are like, you're wasting his prime, but I get it. The draft compensation would be probably one of the greatest packages we've ever seen, but particularly thinking of this season that we're in the midst of, this Brown season right now, I'm not saying he's going to, and he obviously has some work to do. It would be really cool in the midst of a horrible Brown season to see him break Strahan's record.
Oh, it would be awesome.
And obviously, again, he dragged us to the mud and made us look like a pile of horse manure this offseason. I'm not taking that out of the equation, but I'm thankful he's here, and I'm thankful that he's going to be here for a while yet, because that's an unmovable contract, and he comes in at number 8.
He comes in at number 8 for you. I will say Myles Garrett did not crack my list, did not crack my top 10. And obviously was not an honorable mention of mine. I understand the reasoning, though. He's the best defensive player in Browns history. The run that he's been on, again, as we record a week and a half before this Thanksgiving episode, the run that he's on these last 3 games, 10-plus sacks combined in all 3 of them.
Most guys don't get that their career.
Exactly. I mean, the run that he's on is unbelievable. And obviously he was he was really the first draft pick that started to kick around the Browns turnaround that started in that 2018. Yeah, basically, and then on to the new era. So I understand the reasoning for Myles there. I appreciate that at 8.
Okay, and number 7 for me comes in a guy who ultimately, him and Myles had a big falling out, and as a result, he's no longer here. Garrett is. He's not. That's Baker Mayfield. Obviously a hot button issue, and anytime his name comes up in Cleveland, it's a hot button issue, but I don't think it should be on this list. Look, folks, he got us our first playoff win since the 90s. At the time that he did it 5 years ago, he came in here. He embraced the city. He embraced the dog pound. As a whole, and that's including everybody of the fan base. Overall, I get it. The last year was really ugly, and a lot of it was Baker induced. Some of it was Browns induced. But you know what? I'm thankful that he was here, and I'm thankful for those memories and him beating the Steelers in Heinz Field. I don't give a shit if there was nobody in the stands. I'll never forget it, and it's a memory that's entrenched to me for a lifetime. So thank you, Baker Mayfield. Yeah,
listen, Jerome, I love Baker there. I think obviously this is a list when it comes to being thankful for, whether you love him or hate him. I think Baker Mayfield's got to be on this list if you're a Cleveland fan in general for what he represented for
in our
the
age
Cleveland
bracket.
Browns. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Number 7, a little bit different from me. It's kind of, I guess, relatively the same idea, considering he's not here anymore and was once the face of the franchise. Francisco Lindor actually coming in at number 7 for me. A lot of great moments here. One that stands out, a funny moment actually, is I wasn't able to watch this game, but that grand slam that he hit off the Yankees in order to bring that to an 8-7 game, the one that they say, broke all the sound decimals,
yes.
Based off, couldn't watch that game, but one of the best moments of all time. Love going back and watching that. And then, honestly, another great moment that I don't think gets talked about enough is him hitting the double to extend the winning streak to 22 games to tie the game. And then obviously that game went to extras, and then Bruce hit it to extend it. But yeah, Francisco Lindor, obviously a fantastic player for us, was part of that 2016 World Series appearance team. Comes in at number 7 for me.
He didn't make my list, but I teetered on him for quite a while. And the reason he probably didn't make my list is because had they won the 2016 World Series, I probably would have put him on there. But he, there was a couple different postseasons, particularly 2018 comes to mind when they got swept by the cheating Astros. He was the only player who hit. And, they didn't even win a game, but he at least made the game watchable.
Yeah.
So I think that's a valid person to have on your happy Thanksgiving special here.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, would you like to produce your number 7?
Number 6, you mean?
Or 6, please. Yes.
6? Yeah, 6. A player it's funny because when he was here, I hated him. Didn't mind when we drafted him. Didn't like him before LeBron. Didn't love him during LeBron, and then hated him post LeBron. But I am thankful for a lot of what he did for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's obviously Kyrie Irving. Hitting the big shot, obviously a Rookie of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, maybe the most clutch player I've ever seen in a Cavs uniform, and that goes beyond Donovan Mitchell. That includes everybody. Probably the most clutch Cavs player I've ever seen. Superstar in and of his own right. Love him or hate him, he's one of those players. But Kyrie Irving comes in at number 6 for the most thankful players that I've ever seen wear a Cleveland sports uniform.
He is on my list. He's a little bit higher, and whenever we get to that point, I'll provide my reasons why. But
all right.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, and I have a couple other things that I want to throw in there. Number 6 on my list, and this is probably a little favoritism, but I'm thankful for Carlos Santana.
Yeah, it's definitely favoritism, but I knew he would show up on this list somewhere.
Yeah, and the reason why is you look at it, I know this past season was pretty ugly, but he spent an extensive amount of time, my primitive years of watching sports with the Cleveland Indians and now Guardians. And, if you look at it, he's top 10, even top 5 in a lot of offensive categories. Love him or hate him, he was a very polarizing player here, kind of like Baker. But, to the sense that not as much as Baker, but he literally, a lot of people didn't like the way he played, but he provided a lot of great moments for this team and a lot of great seasons for this team. Yeah. And again, he was another guy who had a lot of big hits in that 2016 run. He had some hits in 2017. 2019, he was an all-star and was probably the team's best offensive player because Jose Ramirez had a down year that year. So, again, this is a personal list of me being thankful, and for my, being a favorite of mine too. I've got to be thankful for everything he did for the Cleveland baseball organization.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis, Jerome. I'm not as thankful for Carlos Santana's presence here as you are, but I mean, you also have to be thankful for what he had 3 stints here.
Yeah,
was it 3 stints in total? Spent obviously the majority of his career here. Has a home. Yeah, Carlos Santana, another one that embraced the city, always loves coming back.
Yep.
Was sad to leave.
Never sold his house when he sold it.
That's right. Yeah,
and loyalty is a big thing that's important to both of us, and something that's just gone in professional sports nowadays. So maybe we're a little old school in that aspect, but hey, that's us, and it's our list, not yours.
Yeah, right. And loyalty actually is a reason that my number 5 player isn't at number 1. And that's LeBron James coming in at number 5 for me. If he was loyal and he was Cleveland through and through. Even though he was, born and raised a half hour, 45 minutes from downtown Cleveland. If he really embraced it, it would be number 1, I think, on every single Cleveland sports fan's list. But he wasn't. He left twice, but ultimately he came back. He brought what he owed us, I guess I should say. And then obviously 4-time MVP, 2 times with the Cleveland Cavaliers, best player in franchise history. Jerome, as you said earlier, you could argue on whether he's the best player of all time or not. You have to be thankful for what LeBron has done for the city of Cleveland.
Absolutely.
And just what he's done as a player in general.
All right. So that takes us to
number 5.
Yes. My number 5 is you just did yours. And my number 5 comes in at Nick Chubb. As much as Baker Mayfield had a hand in the Browns revitalizing themselves for a couple year stretch there, so did Nick Chubb. Nobody worked harder. I mean, the amount of big runs that he would have when the team needed it, he just always came up with a big play in the run game. And, I'm thankful for all those memories he gave us. How many great Jim Donovan calls came from Nick Chubb?
Chubba Wabba Hob.
That's one that comes to mind, absolutely. And how many times he would take a play and just turn it into, and his loyalty was incredible. He didn't even want to leave this go around. He broke his foot, and I was at that game, obviously working in. It was a sad day because you knew that was probably the end of Nick Chubb in a Cleveland. And we had a big off-season podcast about that. But everything he did, I think he had, maybe not as much of a hand as Baker, because obviously Baker more vital position.
Sure.
But, loyalty-wise and wanting to turn around the Browns, he had a big hand in that. And so that's why Nick Chubb comes in at 5 for me.
Yeah, absolutely, Jerome. And I love that you just mentioned him, because he actually comes in at number 4 for me. I think that's a great transition.
Oh, there you go.
And literally for every reason that you listed. One of those players, like the most selfless player that you could ever ask. And then, I've always loved whenever he'd run into the end zone, gave the ball to the ref, ran to the sideline. He was there to play football and play football only. Truly embraced the game. Truly embraced the city and the fans. And that article, I know I've mentioned it before, that article he wrote in the Players Tribune
it put a tear in my eye.
Absolutely could bring a tear to your eye. He loved the city of Cleveland. I know he was sad to leave. I know there's that video of that person recording him in his car as he's leaving the facility saying, I really hope this isn't the last time. And unfortunately, I believe that was the last time that he left that facility. Somebody I'll always be grateful for, just the way that he went about his business and just the class act that he was through and through. I don't know if I've seen a player like that. I mean, there were multiple players, I should say, on that Browns team during that Browns time that truly embraced the city. He was one of them. Nick Chubb comes in at 4 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got to remember this too, that, he took a couple different pay cuts to stay here multiple times.
Yeah.
And that's something that you've got to respect and be thankful for. Number 4 for me is also a personal one. And I'm thankful for Joshua Cribbs.
Okay.
Again, when we were growing up, it was a miserable era of Browns football. And the Browns offense was as bad, as it is now. And it was unwatchable. It's an unwatchable product with whoever was playing quarterback, from Luke McCown to, Brandon Wheat, whatever, what have you, Jeff Garcia. And when I was growing up, the most exciting play I would get excited for watching the Browns as a child was the kickoff. And it was because you never knew, or the punt.
Yeah.
And there was any chance, and the broadcast knew it, the Browns would get a 3rd down stop, and Cribbs is dangerous. You better watch. And that goes to his playing days, but also how he has been, in my opinion, and Hayden's up there because you mentioned him, nobody that played for the Browns since I've been alive, and Bernie, I think, is even more so than Josh Cribbs, but has embraced being a Cleveland Brown. Josh Cribbs is on all the radio shows. He has his own show. He's stayed in Cleveland. He's lived in Cleveland. He has multiple businesses. He went and got his graduate degree from Baldwin Wallace.
Yeah.
He has, for a guy who did not grow up here, who went to college here for Kent State, played his career mainly with the Browns. He had a cup of coffee, a couple other different places.
Yeah, Colts, Raiders.
Either way, he didn't run back to D.C. Josh Cribbs has not played in the NFL for damn near a decade, and he is still as involved as any player. He's at most home games, and just the way he embraces the Cleveland Browns. And I've had the privilege and chance to meet Joshua a few different times, and what a hell of a guy. I mean, I'm just thankful for everything about him. I think, growing up in the era I did, he is, again, nobody since I've been alive has embraced being a Cleveland Brown as much as Joshua Cribbs. I think, you can argue Thomas, but for me, I think it's Cribbs.
Okay, I think you could absolutely, especially from him not being like a Midwest guy.
Yes.
Like how you had just mentioned and coming into the city.
Grew up in DC.
Yeah, exactly. So, I respect having Cribbs on the list. Spoiler alert, he's not on mine, but he was a very, very important piece of my childhood. Obviously, our childhood, I should say. Because you're right, Jerome. Like the most exciting thing ever was when the defense would get a third down stop, because you're like, okay, if Cribbs, if he has a little bit of breathing room when he catches this ball, he could take it to the house. And one of my favorite Browns plays of all time, funny because I mentioned earlier how I didn't get to see the Lindor Grand Slam live. I remember there was some Christmas party going on, so we were driving, and I had to listen to the Browns-Steelers game in Pittsburgh in 2007. And
yes, I was
listened,
at this game.
I listened to Jim Donovan call Cribbs muffing that ball, and then also call him weaving in and out of those defenders, and then obviously end up returning that kickoff all the way for a touchdown. And I remember listening in the car with every yard that Donovan called, getting like almost a little bit higher off my seat with each yard. So one of my favorite moments genuinely ever of being a fan is that moment in particular. So I love that you have Cribbs on that list.
I was 10 years old. That was the first NFL game I ever attended in person.
Really?
Was that game.
Okay.
Yes,
it was a hell of a game to listen to. Like I said, I couldn't watch it, but that was the first year too that I could at least remember watching the Browns be good. That was the 10-6 year, 2007. Yes. So that game meant a lot in the moment too. Like that felt like a playoff game. I remember getting ready to listen to that one. So yeah, I love that you have Cribbs on that list, man. He came in at what, number 4?
Yeah, he did. And like we said, I mean, that's probably a reason too. A little personal bias. That was the first NFL game I ever attended. Regular
you
season.
You got to see a play like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. So number 3, you want this one or you want me to take it?
Oh, please.
Number 3, I've got Joe Thomas. This is the epitome of what. This is the person that I looked at growing up. More so, I guess, when I got to early high school, because he had been in the league for 5-6 years at that point. But truly gave the definition of loyalty to a city. This was a guy, obviously Hall of Famer, best Browns draft pick since '99. You could argue him or Miles. I think you can go either way on that one. Another player that I was actually unhappy with when the Browns took him, because I wanted Brady Quinn, who I had mentioned earlier, but Joe Thomas just embodied the city to a whole different level. The snap streak, the moments that unfortunately he was not able to be a part of, never made it to a playoff with the Browns organization, but had a chance to. They had a chance to potentially trade him to Denver. Never happened. He decided to stay in Cleveland and finish out his tenure here, finish out his career here. I'm thankful for everything that Joe Thomas put into this city and into this organization, and I feel like putting him at 3 is almost a slight for what he truly means to this city, because I am so thankful for what Joe Thomas has done.
And he's another one who's embraced and been a hell of an ambassador for the Browns. I think it's right up there with him and Cribbs, the best two since '99 who have been ambassadors for the team.
Yeah.
Joe comes back to at least a couple home games a year now. He has a lot of national broadcasting commitments where he can't always make it, and he lives in Wisconsin, has his farm now, his beef farm, and he's got his hands tied up in a lot of different things. But he gets back to Cleveland quite a bit, and to be honest with you, Joe came in at 3 on my list too.
Really?
So okay. I don't really think there's anything else we could say about how phenomenal Joe Thomas is and what he meant and what he did and how his resiliency, just because, for us as fans, yeah, it's one thing to be resilient because we're spending the money. But there's times where we could be like, you know what? I'm not going to read Browns articles this week. I'm not going to watch Browns YouTube this week. When you're playing and you're suffering that, you can't just decide, I'm not going to do it this week. You got to go in there on that Monday when they're 0-10 and figure it out and figure out how we can win this week. And Joe's resiliency it should be studied.
I think something so cool about him too is that one win that they got in 2016. That video of, I believe it's Hugh Jackson that's addressing the locker room, and Joe Thomas is literally crying in the background because of how much that one win meant. And he would never see another win for the rest of his career. That was the last win that he ever had.
Yes, it was. And, he was crying at the podium, and he said it shouldn't be this way, but it is. He goes, this is my career. And his career is amazing and also sad all in one.
Yeah, no, it absolutely. I mean, you probably can't look at another player that was so dominant at their position that never got to play in a playoff game. Like, I don't know if you can. And that's just me thinking out loud almost. I don't know if there is or not, but they're few and far between. They have to be.
Yeah, to have that, to be an all-pro like that. I mean, it's it's sad. I mean, and at least for Garrett, he's had a couple playoff wins, but I'm afraid we're seeing a repeat on the defensive side of Joe Thomas. And that's sad to say that the organization has wasted two. And I'll go ahead and say it, first ballot Hall of Famers, because Miles will be.
Yeah, absolutely. And one went about it, I would say, in a much classier way than the other one did.
Absolutely, and that's why he's higher on our thankful.
And that's why the other one's, quite frankly, not on mine.
Absolutely. All right, number 2 for me, and he was down on your list, Kyrie Irving.
Wow, that's high. I think I've determined who your number 1 is then.
And yes, and Kyrie Irving for me, I did love him when he was here. I was big into Duke basketball, and he played there, and I wanted him. They drafted him. I remember watching his debut, thinking, "Oh boy, now he'll be all right," and he was phenomenal. Also, to the sense of the Shin-Soo Choo being on my list, he played in a really crappy area of Cavs basketball until LeBron came parading on through that door. And at the time, he was super loyal. And then, this is a city that doesn't have a lot of championships in our history. We're not Boston. We're not New York. We're not even, any Los Angeles, the Dodgers back-to-back, the Lakers with all those stuff. We don't get our championships. In fact, we get them almost every half century, which is pathetic and embarrassing, but it's the reality and truth in which we live in. And, as much as we've mentioned Bernie and what a hell of an ambassador he is, he never got the Browns over the top. Ernest Spiner did fumble. All the other things. Jose Mesa did blow it. When Kyrie's moment came to shine, he sunk it. And my dad was the one who said that to me, a handful of years ago, and it's true. These guys have all not been able to get it done in the biggest moments, and when the biggest moment rose in the Oracle Arena in 2016, June 19th, he rose to the occasion, and that's why, because that's the only championship that we have, and not even us, but folks who are way older than us have to remember.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's, Kyrie Irving came in at 6 on my list, and basically Jerome Searcy for all those reasons that you listed. Like, when it comes to clutch moments, there's nobody, I don't know, probably ever across Cleveland sports that has ever been able to deliver like he has. Even during regular season games, it seemed like no matter what, Kyrie was going to hit that shot when we needed him to. And he hit some other big time playoff shots as well. I know there's one, we were going to sweep the Pistons anyway, I think. But he had one like right at the end of the shot clock that was on an inbounds play to basically seal the game. And it was like, who else would you rather have that take that shot?
Yep.
Nobody. So Kyrie Irving comes in at 2 for you.
He does.
Coming in at 2 for me, just about for all of the reasons I listed for Joe Thomas. The only reason that this player gets a nod over him is that we have playoff moments to remember him by too, and that's Jose Ramirez coming in at 2. You want to talk about loyalty being taken to the next level. We've never seen a discount ever being taken for a superstar of that caliber in order to stay in this city and deal with the lack of talent that ownership refuses to give him, and still manages to find a way to get this team to the postseason just about every year. So Jose Ramirez comes in at number 2 for me. Absolutely love what he means for the city. And I think he truthfully, we're going to see a statue of him outside of that stadium in no time, but he defines what Cleveland baseball is to this city.
Absolutely. And I would argue that, outside of, he's going to finish number 1 in a lot of categories, and that's due to the time he spent here. And for me, that's why he's my number 1.
Yeah. I had a feeling I was transitioning into that for you.
You did a great job. Jim told me, he left. CeCe Sabathia, he got traded. It wasn't his choice, but he did. And they were never going to pay him anyway.
Yeah, Lindor, same deal.
They were never going to pay him, but he got traded. Jose Ramirez said, no, you're going to pay me because I'm going to take half of what I can and make this work so that you will pay me, Paul Dolan. He locked Paul Dolan into an office, made him pay him. Who else is doing that? Nobody in my lifetime. No. And the way athletes are now, they're getting paid at college, even high school level. It's going to go further and further away from loyalty now, right? It's going to go where the check is. In the era of professional sports we live in, it is just something that it's ought to be studied, what he did and why he did it. And, God bless him for it, because quite frankly, I've said it many times on more in-depth podcasts about the Guardians. This team's winning 65, 75 games a year tops without him here.
Yeah.
He gives them a contention window that's endless. Will he ever get it over the top? No, because I don't think they're going to do for him what he did. And they're not going to, return the favor, as we've discussed many times. But what he's done, he's got to be my top athlete, because when I think of Cleveland baseball, I think if you were, listen, we did not see the team in 95. So I know a lot of people older than us can be like, you're nuts. But when Kevin and I think of Cleveland baseball, it is Jose Ramirez.
It's going to be Jose Ramirez. And that's probably going to be like that until we die, honestly. I mean, this is like our prime era, I feel like, of watching these Cleveland sports teams. I mean, it's going to be Jose Ramirez. We're going to be telling our kids about that when we're 50 years old and they're 18 talking about whatever prospect they're calling them. Prospect this. You should have seen our switch hitting third baseman, Jose Ramirez.
Yep.
And you know what's funny, Jerome, about Jose Ramirez? I remember being at 2016, and I know this is going to sound like I'm calling you out. I do not mean it to be this
exactly
way.
what you're talking
but we
about.
were
I
at,
couldn't stand the guy.
We were at the second or third game of the year in the spring. So this would have been like March, April 2016. Jose Ramirez came up, had like a 500 average at the time because he was like 2 for 4 or 1 for 2 on the year. I remember I was like, you know what? I do like this Jose Ramirez kid. And you go, oh, he's horrible. He's whatever. And I was like, I kind of want to see what they got. I always looked at him more as a second baseman, if you remember, until I finally, only over the last like few years, I really came around to him being a full-time third baseman, really.
Probably pretty, like up until COVID,
Yeah, I mean, I was adamant about, we got to get him over to second base.
And I remember, Jose, or when he finally had stacked all those seasons together, I think it was after he signed the extension, people had talked about us signing a third baseman, and Tito Francona basically said, he's the best player in the last 20 years. He goes, we're not going to ask him 6 years of his career to move. He's playing third base until he wants to hang his cleats up.
And it was funny because what I wanted in that time was Lindor at short, Jose at second, and then I loved Urshela at third. And so I wanted it to work out that way because I wanted to get Urshela in the lineup.
I do recall. So he's number one for me. Who's your number one?
So number one, he was a little bit lower on your list. But for this organization being my favorite organization in this city and the success that this person was responsible for that team, for that span, Baker Mayfield comes in at number one for me, for the most thankful Cleveland athlete since 97, I should say, since we were born. Just for the reasons listed, he was the only real consistent quarterback play that we've ever been able to see. Led us to a playoff win in a place that we've never been able to win, never had success in. Granted, like you had mentioned earlier, there were no fans in the stadium. Only playoff win that we've ever been able to see in our lifetime. He was at the helm for it. The quarterback that really did turn around the Cleveland Browns throughout those 3 to 4 years. I have Baker at one, man, just for what the Browns have meant for me growing up and me never being able to see any success with them. What he brought for them. He instilled so much. He made me believe that there could be good football in Cleveland. So for that reason, Baker Mayfield's at number one for me. Most thankful Cleveland athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to, I don't think he doesn't come that high on my list. But I think it's hard to discredit what Baker did and, what he accomplished here. And, like I said, for people in our era, you're right. He did believe and make you believe that this team can be a winner. You can figure it out here. It's not, cursed and all that.
And embraced how difficult that would be. Like, he came in knowing, this is an 0-16 team that drafted me. Their coach is 1-31. They just hired a new general manager. Like, he knew what he was signing up for. Now, granted, the Browns had some cap space and some draft picks and stuff that they were able to get some vets in there, but he was the guy that you look to try to turn around this. And that moment, that Thursday night game, us being at it when they unlocked the coolers, just some of the moments that those teams had together, I will forever be grateful for them.
I think, to me, it's just that, and maybe I'm being a little too critical, like, I remember 2019, like, how big of an ego he had, and he got his ass kicked all year, and some of it was the coaching, and and then 2020 came back so well, and then 2020 went bad again. I couldn't put him that high just because I remember the bad times as well as I remember the good times. But the good times were rolling back then compared to what we have now. Now we are sitting here, and we're debating, who could be our next Baker. We're hoping for that again. And
yeah, we are.
And we may disagree on that, but one thing, and we clearly disagree on that. But one thing I want everybody to remember is, and I heard other radio hosts and podcast hosts say this today. We get on, we make these lists and we get online and we argue with people about the quarterback or, the baseball team or the basketball team. And we argue, but just remember, folks, it's all fueled by passion.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's not that, like, Kevin's my best friend, but I don't see everything the way he does. And we may see the Browns getting to success in a completely different manner and the way they should go about it. But at the end of the day, our goal here is to be able to raise somebody to a thankful list where they win number one, or, they win not just one, but multiple championships. And that's what we want. And, so
I think that's very like reminiscent, not to get like political, because I'm not trying to be, but I think that's very reminiscent of just kind of what like life is supposed to be like, dude. Like when it comes to politics, conservatives, Democrats, they're all arguing, but in the grand scheme of things, they just want the country to be better. Like, that's why we're arguing, is because we want the Browns to be in a better spot. We just see it in a different light.
Right. Or even the Guardians or the Cavaliers.
You get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, these are the people for us personally who gave us probably some of our brightest memories. And I think what I've looked at making this list is, it's not easy being a Cleveland fan. I mean, some of the reasons that these people are on the list, there's like, wow. I mean, in other cities, if you haven't won probably multiple rings, you're not cracking people's most thankful athlete.
Yeah, no,
list.
100%.
And we're over here putting people on our lists who won one playoff game or who
seriously
stayed in Cleveland or who were really standouts on crappy teams. And it just makes you, I'm thankful for the teams and the joy they brought us, but it does remind you not to be negative. There's been a lot of crappy times, man.
There's been way more crappy times than good, 100%. And I think something that we can take away, I mean, whether it's the list or not, is that the Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Indians have been, without a doubt, the most consistent organization in this city. I mean, how many times did we look back and talk about any of these players of, this is outside, I guess, Shin-Soo Choo maybe.
That they were on a bad team.
That they were on a bad team, and that was the reason, was because they sparked some hope. No, that was like all Browns. And then obviously Kyrie Irving was on there too with some bad times with the Cavs. So
absolutely. But we hope you enjoyed our Thanksgiving special.
Yeah, it actually went a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So happy Thanksgiving. And again, hope you enjoy this little list. And then make sure to comment. We're going to pin our lists when this episode is released. We're not going to until it is.
And we hope that you comment your top 10, top 11, top 12, whatever top number that you want,
or even if you just want to comment
a few athletes you think might have gotten snubbed that should have made the list. Actually, that would be nice to hear.
More thankful and just be thankful. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the food with the family, and like we said, we'll talk to you guys soon. And everybody,
whether you like this on YouTube?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then obviously please leave comments. Please engage with us. We love doing it. And then follow us on X or Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at CLE Sports Realm.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, be safe out there. Especially with the way the airline industry is right now. Things are a little dicey on whether to make the flight. Right. So we hope everything goes smooth for you in your travels. And then we'll talk to you next week. And again, happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Go Cavs.